Dirt, Origin of the Species, is a very bad game made by a British studio called New Generation Games and published by Tri-Synergy in 2006. And frankly, this is a very difficult review to put into words purely because there is so little that's worth saying about it. There are some games where I have very loud, very vocal opinions about certain things, and there are some games that I am just so utterly insulted by that I just want to dissect them in greater detail. And Dirt just kind of sits in the middle of those two, and as a result, leaves me in a very apathetic state. I suppose, to avoid spoilers, let's very quickly bash through the basics. Dirt is a third-person shooter, which pretty much fails at every single aspect of being a third-person shooter. The weapons are lackluster, the combat is grossly unbalanced, either being ludicrously easy or unnecessarily difficult depending on what you're fighting. The different playstyles that the game offers you are not optimised in the slightest and would have fared much better if you simply had access to all three unique moves from each type of playstyle at the beginning. And overall, the level design, the whole structure of most encounters feels incredibly badly thought out. You are often fighting your way through either incredibly linear environments, fighting the occasional bad guy in your way, or you are thrown into a gigantic arena and tasked with fighting maybe 2 or 3 enemies before moving to another vast arena. The entire game feels like a severely mismanaged project where various different members of the team clearly weren't talking to each other, clearly weren't designing the game in coordination with each other, but were producing assets and then trying to figure out how those assets could possibly fit together. The story itself is utterly fucking ludicrous and frankly not worth discussing, other than to point out that it's so incongruent to what's going on in the game that characters will just appear and disappear with absolutely no explanation, no setup, and then just assume that they need to be taken seriously. And very much near the end, the game's cutscenes outright lie to you as to how you're supposed to defeat a boss. It is, from end to end, a complete failure of a game, and I honestly am not surprised that this kinda killed the studio. The guys who went on to form New Generation Games were basically moving away from other companies like Core Design and Eidos, specifically because they wanted to not do standard, repeated IPs. They wanted to do their own thing. And the concept art and the amount of ambition that was clearly on display shows they wanted to do something good. But whatever they were actually attempting, they had no real idea of how to execute it properly, and it shows. Really fucking shows. Sometimes I can recommend a game because it's laughably or entertainingly bad. I don't necessarily think Dirt falls into that category. Eurojank is often entertainingly bad because it's people clearly trying and with a sense of technical competence, but it's normally budget or some kind of translation between one culture and another that makes it kind of uniquely funny or a bit silly. Dirt just doesn't feel like people were up to the task of making this game. It feels half-baked. It feels like it needed another year or so of development to get everything to work. And this is the game that got delayed. What was it? Announced in 2004. It was released in 2006. But apparently they'd actually tried to release it in 2005. That's... You're putting too many eggs in one basket. If you want to have a 1-year turnaround in a game and make a game this ambitious with this many kind of moving parts in terms of different play styles, loads of different skills, different enemies, different levels, pick something you want to do and make sure that the time window and the budget and the skill level you have available will achieve that. Don't just shoot for the stars with absolutely no idea how to build a fucking rocket ship. Anyway, that's the spoiler-free part of the review. I will now very briefly talk about the actual plot for those of you who actually want me to talk about the fucking car crash. There's the fucking plot. So the basic idea behind Dirt is that the main character, funnily enough named Dirt, because fuck characterization and giving people relatable backstories, wakes up with amnesia in a jail cell where apparently gigantic insects are just sort of rampaging through a city somewhere. We utilise a bunch of powers which are not properly explained, and if you go through the tutorial, you're quite clearly shown that dirt is actually like part of this government experiment, but it's never addressed, and we're never really given a sense of when did this happen, why are we doing it here, why couldn't we have had the tutorial in the game? But anyway, we then fight our way through the city with various different factions. There's mercenaries, there's a SWAT team, there's cops, there's civilians. It feels like this whole city is just fucking going to pieces around us, both metaphorically and in some places literally, because the whole thing just starts collapsing, blowing up, massive fissures opening in the ground, what have you. And for a while, it feels like cheesy action exploitation, a few steps above like Asylum movie kind of shit, but entertainingly shit, endearingly bad, because it knows it's kind of shit. The problem is, at around about the end of the first third, possibly the midway point, the big reveal is that this city is actually a gigantic mock-up to test how well the giant insects will fare against the civilian population. Which does raise the question of why they also had mercs coming in, shooting fucking everyone for the sake of it, and why they were doing all of this in the fucking first place, because this seems so astonishingly over the top. Like, okay, maybe you're trying to do like a campy sci-fi story, but it comes out of nowhere, and it feels like a gigantic slap across the face. For one, because it means that any kind of sense of stake we've just built up, like, oh my god, they've already taken over an entire city, what happens to the rest of the world? No, it actually turns out this is actually one tiny little outbreak that kind of got slightly out of control, and there's a few tiny towns over in the Midwest which are getting overrun. That's basically it. Yet the game still keeps the stakes at maximum level. Very much near the end, they're in a fucking 5-minute cutscene between 3 characters we have not been introduced to, and 2 of which we will not see after this cutscene. One of which is Dirt's dad, by the way. Oh, the amount of hand gestures I'm doing when I'm trying to describe all of this is fucking ludicrous. They go, oh no, but there's a queen, meaning that it's going to be like infinitely breeding, and it's going to spread all over the place, and it's making hybrids of humans and ants and fuck off. Just give me a sense of scale for this game. Give me a sense of like stake, and go with it. If I don't care if you go, oh my god, the world's under threat from like minute 1. If you go, holy shit, aliens are taking over the world, oh my god, gigantic ants are blowing out people's skulls, that's fine. That gives me a definable goal to get to. Don't go, oh my god, that's happening. Actually, wait, it's not kind of happening. Oh no, but it could definitely happen. Just kind of rocket back and forth between what is supposed to be the main threat of this game. Even when we get kind of close to the end and we kind of get built to the crescendo, it falls flat on its face. For 2 main reasons. First and foremost, the main antagonist of the game, this nebulous general who just seems to like shooting supporting characters and being a bit psychotic, basically has a little bit of a monologue, shoots a control panel, the one control panel that would have allowed us to actually defeat the main bad guy, which is the whole point of us doing this. Essentially, the general wants to nuke a Midwest city, I think for shits and giggles. Like, everyone gives much better alternatives as to how to take out the Ant Queen, and he's like, nah, fuck that, I want to use a nuke because I'll make my dick hard. And that's really it. In fact, I wish he'd said that. That would have been better writing than what he actually got. But we get to this final situation. This is pretty much the most indicative problem of the game entirely, which is we are told we need to get the Ant Queen under these rocket boosters so then we can fry the bitch, because it's like this big rocket test chamber. If we lure underneath it, then, and you know, it's basically Blast Chamber from Half-Life. It's that section. Unfortunately, they clearly wrote and recorded and rendered the cutscene before they figured out if they could get that to work in the game. Because what actually happens is, you shoot through a bunch of hybrids, you get into the final test chamber, and there's a bunch of eggs, and the Ant Queen's already under the rocket. Like, she's already in place. How have we not set this bitch on fire? Turns out, you actually have to shoot her eggs to do damage to her. The problem is, and if you've seen the Let's Play, you already know this, but for those of you who are watching the review, let me just break this down for you. There are about 15 eggs in this location. You shoot an egg, you deal damage to the queen, you shoot all the eggs. Theoretically, that would kill the queen. Because the queen herself is utterly invulnerable to everything, so you can't directly shoot her and do damage that way. If you were a competent game designer, you would code it, you would script it, so that when an egg is destroyed, it does a set amount of damage to the queen. Thus, if I kill, say it's 10 eggs, each egg does 10% of the queen's health bar. That way, when I destroy the 10th egg, bam, the queen's at 0, dead, end cutscene, you go. Unfortunately, the fucking galaxy brain programmers, the fucking next generation of game development that is new generation games, when, that's too difficult. How about we just deal the weapons damage to the queen via the hit that's placed on the egg? Thus meaning, if you use a weapon that is not sufficiently powerful enough, you can destroy all the eggs and not have dealt enough damage to the queen to kill her. The final boss fight is so badly designed, you can actually softlock yourself by accident. Which I did. I spent far too much fucking time trying to figure out if the game was being smart or just being so aggressively fucking dumb that it looked like it was being smart. And sure enough, after a few attempts, I actually went back in there, used a much more powerful weapon, and I actually killed the queen in like 4 shots, with eggs still remaining. And then, just smash cut directly to the end cutscene, which is its own wonderland of non sequitur bullshit. But yeah, that's pretty much everything there is to say about Dirt. It's really badly designed. It has no concise idea of what it wants to do, and I just feel like this was a waste of so many people's time and effort. If you want to break away from a main studio, if you want to go and do your own thing, you should have a good road plan in place. You should have a really solid idea as to what you want to do and how you're going to do it. Dirt feels like one person's brainchild, which just ran out of control and just completely fell apart in the execution. I guess there's nothing much more to say about that. If you really want to dig this game up and give it a go, if you're the kind of absolute masochist who actually gets off playing genuinely terrible games, sure, play it. I can't stop you as much as I would like to, but generally speaking, if you want to find trashy, disposable third-person shooters, there are far better offerings out there. In fact, I'm going to be trying a couple in the next couple of Let's Plays, stuff like El Matador and things like that. Hopefully they will be better. I mean, to be honest, I would actually put Puzu Oynanis, that like tiny little indie Turkish third-person shooter, above Dirt. While Dirt is tremendously ambitious and tries to do a load of stuff, it fails to actually do any of them. Whereas Puzu Oynanis does basically exactly what it says in the tin, and it's a rock-solid offering in that regard. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Don't play Dirt. Just leave it in the garden where it belongs. Thank you very much for listening to me ramble, and goodbye.